apologies for absence first, please.
We have no apologies today, Chairman.
Councillor Morgan, I know, is running late. He may join us at some point in the meeting. He is intending to be here, I know, but we will see whether he gets there before we've done. The minutes of our meeting, 31st of Jan, are in the bundle. Can I take those as agreed? Any declarations of interest? No. The agenda we are considering is all in part one and is the agenda that was published by the Head of Planning. We are taking the items in the order that they are listed. There are no petition items tonight. Therefore, it's officer presentations and then discussions. There is an addendum. And obviously, as usual, we are live on YouTube. Therefore, make sure you've got your microphones on so you can be heard. Although it depends on individual councillors. Some councillors may well be heard without their microphones on. I'm not going to look at anyone in particular as I say that. I always have to look at you, Councillor Higgins, just because you generally have a view on things. Right. James, you're presenting this little lot. Can you start us, please, on item 6, 1 Square, Fursground Way, Stockley Park?
Thank you, Chair. We're starting here with 1 Square, Fursground Way. Just bring it on to the proposed site plan, all being well. Oh, lovely. Thank you very much. We use this one before. Right.
There we go. Too fast.
Which also does not appear to be there. Okay. Effectively, here we're looking at an additional storey to what is currently a 2-storey flat roof office building. There would also be a small extension to the west to create a larger reception area. To the south of the site, within the car park, there's a section where they're proposing to introduce decked parking, so this will retain the ground level parking and introduce a deck above, with the decked area being screened by a green wall. The purpose of the application ultimately is to provide increased office space in what is an industrial and business area, to modernise the unit as a whole, bringing it up to current standards, and also to provide the additional parking necessary for the increase in floor space. Just cycling through here, we have existing floor plans for the building, so you can see here the ground floor, which is effectively the 2 wings all office space. The first floor also, currently the roof is flat roof with some plant mounted on top. Existing elevations here, again showing the 2-storey building. Just cycle through these. Section of the existing building. Just have a general overview, and then looking here, we've got proposed ground floor, which would be largely unchanged. Likewise with the first floor, and here we have the additional floor. You can see, I'm not sure, sorry, I haven't used this pointer before. I know I've got a laser on it. Is it? Yeah, right. Apologies. So here we have, we've got the, this is the extension to the west side, which effectively provides a reception area. It's got a high ceiling, which effectively brings the rooftop high up to first floor height, and on top of that, they'd be introducing a terraced area. There's also some architectural features here you can see in the form of fin-like structures on both the central parts here, which you'll see better when I show you the elevations of the building, which are here. If you can see here, these are the full height fin structures. You can see as well on the roof here, this is screening to mount plant, to screen plant that will be mounted on the rooftop. And again, there you can see this is all just screening with no floor space in there. Here you can just make out the reception area with the terrace there. And again, elevation section of the building as proposed. And again, here we have the parking. So this is the ground floor, which is with the existing car park effectively. You can see this area here, which is surrounded by hedging. They're intending to add a decked parking arrangement with another level of parking above. Ultimately, this will allow for another 62 car parking spaces net increase. And you can see the aim here is to use mesh screening with climbing plants to provide a green wall to surround that parking area. Ultimately, the aim is to integrate with the overall verdant nature of Stockley Park and also with the modern design of the building, again, to integrate with the innovative architecture that you see there. There is a Section 106 in place, which will be agreed. This is all set out in the report. There has been some tweaking and tightening up of conditions which are set out in the addendum sheet. It's also provided clarity on the correct amount of parking spaces increase, response to the air quality officer comments, and removal of a construction management plan condition, as it wasn't felt this was necessary for this development, given it's not in a residential location. Many thanks.
Councillor Higgins.
I'll go with officer's recommendation on this.
You seconding, Councillor Oswald?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Councillor
Chairman,
Duncan has just indicated.
Thanks. Before we jump in and approve it, just like to say something. Yeah, I'm happy with this, but and I think putting an extra floor or 2 floors or whatever on these existing buildings, good way of adding additional space. This makes it higher, and I would like there to be more vertical landscaping. I hear what you say, about the green walls and fences, lovely, but let's have some verticality, because this is going up and it leaves the landscaping in a different context to the existing building. Now, as you rightly say, Stockley's noted for its, greenness, so can that be part of the, I know you've got landscaping on, haven't you? But can that be something that can be carried forward, please?
Yes, we do have a landscaping condition, so I'll discuss it with colleagues and see if we can, the landscaping is open to negotiation on so.
We wouldn't normally go any further than that.
The point I would say, and I know I may sound like I'm slightly disagree with you, Councillor Duncan, is that what we've done on this one, it's got a huge amount of this kind of cladding to the decked car park that is shown on pages 174 to 171 to 174 of the committee report. So it's pretty much to all sides of the car park. And it could have been the case that the applicant came in with a lesser amount, but we've got quite a large amount. So I kind of look at it and think we've actually achieved quite a lot of landscaping. But I know that's based on slightly contrary to the point that you've raised.
No, it isn't. It isn't. I take that point entirely, and I'm very pleased that the car parking is screened. What I'm talking about, really, is a design issue, more in terms of the building now going up, and can we have some more vertical, like tree features, in relation to that building? Yes, yeah. So it's great that the car park is screened, and that still keeps this green appearance, which I take the point entirely that James makes on that, quite rightly, and that's a great bonus. But I'm talking about vertical things, not the horizontal. Thank you.
Councillor Oswald, sorry.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Yeah, we may have an answer to that. In the landscape architect's report, it says there are 24 U-grade trees whose poor condition, value and short useful life expectancy justifies removal. Well, maybe we could replace them with something along the lines that Councillor Duncan's talking about, and just improve it all.
I think I may have slightly at cross purposes. So effectively, it's can we beef up slightly the landscaping condition
Councillor Higgins is disagreeing down on my right-hand side. Just for difference. You go with officer
Through you, Chair, this is not necessary. The design there and the thing has come up with a good scheme. For us then to sort of impose extra bits on it, I just think it's unnecessary. Stockley is a lovely place, we've got lovely lots of trees. I think it would be something quite unique to have greenery as a horizontal line higher up. To me, it's just a good design. So I would disagree, and I'd agree with officers that we don't really need it.
Okay, I'm not going to prolong this. I'm only sensing, one member's raised it, I'm not sensing anybody else jumping in on it. I would be happy to take officer recommendations. We are proposed and seconded.
Yeah, it does say there are no grade A trees and only 4 grade B trees on this site. There are 24 category U trees whose poor condition and
I'd be happy. The head of planning would be happy to accept that he adds an informative to the thing, but I'm not adding any more conditions to it. We're proposed and seconded. All those in favour, please clearly show. Thank you. That is approved. The minutes will note that Councillor Morgan has now joined the meeting. Welcome. We're on item 7, so as you joined for the start, you're welcome to join this one. Could I ask on item 7, before the officers come in, that given that it's a palisade fence in an industrial area where there's other similar things, do members need a presentation to explain it? No.
I'll move the officer's recommendations section.
Thank you. All those in favour, please clearly show. Thank you. Right, let's move to the more interesting. Crescent Early Learning Centre, Ruislip, a 33-unit scheme. Obviously, reference from members, there is already an approved, or previously approved 28 on this site. I think it has expired, but we have approved 28 previously. James, all yours.
This one's mine.
Sorry, I forgot you were getting this one.
So the proposal, I'll just go through the plans first. So Acle Crescent, we have seen it before, might have been a few years ago. So there were some existing facilities on the site. They have since been moved. Therefore, the site is deemed to be vacant. The prior approval was sought for the demolition of these buildings, so the demolition work is under construction. Take you through the proposals, and this is the site in relation to Bourne Court for information purposes. This is the ground floor layout plan as proposed. It's very similar to the previously approved, albeit now expired plan. So the parking is provided to the rear, the main built form along the frontage. This is the landscaping plan. So there is a children's play area here, some green buffer frontage, and some further landscaping. These are the ground and first floor plans, and then there is a second floor plan. So you'll see that the building does get smaller at second floor levels, so there is only really built form along the frontage, and it reduces to the rear if we compare those. This is a simple topographical survey. These are the rear elevations of the property and the flank elevations on both sides. That was a section through the premises, and this just shows the site in the context of the surrounding area. So it is in keeping with the height and scale and massing of the surrounding properties. This is the front elevation. We have some accessible unit layout plans. I'm just going to whiz through these because we have put together some comparisons. So these are some views that have been prepared with the current application. And these are photos of the application site. So there's the site there. There's the small green that you can see on the plans. View looking along Canfield. Canfield Drive in the site's northwest boundary. I can come back to the photos if you'd like to see them in any more detail later. So again, the application site's been boarded up for a while. We've provided a plan with some separation distances to confirm that there are 17 metres between this block here and the closest property there. So to the north it's 25 metres separation. To the east it's 31 metres and 6.2 metres where it's a flank-on-flank elevation here. So two side elevations, and 26 metres across the road, which is an average an average distance road to road frontage. We also wanted to just demonstrate where there were only limited changes between the previously approved layout plans and the current proposals before you today. So if we look at the site layout, the coverage is fairly similar, and the parking has probably been laid out a little bit better. This was the approved front elevation. You will notice that it has gone up ever so slightly in scale, but probably provides a better design than the previously approved scheme, also with a better use of materials. Along the southwest elevation, it was a slightly hipped roof with a sort of turret under the previously approved scheme. So I think the current proposals are a much more appropriate design for the location. And this is the northeast elevation. So the proposal involves the construction of 2- and 3-storey development containing 33 residential units, all of which would provide affordable housing. 19 units would be socially rented and 14 units being shared ownerships. 35 car parking spaces are provided on site. The proposed development provides housing which meets the requirements of the housing delivery programme for this area. The loss of the previous use, as I've previously mentioned, has been re-provided in better facilities at Queen's Walk Resource Centre. The large footprint on the current proposals has been broken up by articulating the building and using suitable palette of materials. As I mentioned on the slides, the palette of materials and breaking up the proposal has led to a better design than we previously approved. The development is compliant in terms of separation distances between neighbouring buildings, and the roof gardens will be adequately screened to prevent the perception of overlooking. The application is accordingly recommended for approval.
And there is an addendum on this one with some condition tidying. Nothing substantive, it's just basically tidying up conditions and making them consistent. Okay, what's to start me on this one? Councillor Oswald.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Yeah, I think this is a better scheme than the previous one. I think it looks an awful lot better. I'm quite happy with it. I propose that we accept officer's recommendations.
I agree with everything Councillor Oswald said on a second.
Okay, were you going to propose, Councillor Higgins?
I was going to propose and add something.
Do you want to add it?
I would like to add it, yes. I actually prefer the current proposal, but prefer the actual footprint of the previous one. I think it's just a little tight on that corner, but it's 17 point something other. So it's just one of those things, and I suppose the only other thing we could watch, because it's 3 stories rather than 2, is the...
Well, there are 3 stories, the flatted blocks so along from that are 3 as well.
It's minor complaints, but apart from that, I agree.
It is not uncommon for that neck of the woods. Councillor, did you indicate Councillor Dillon as well? I know Councillor Duncan has. No, you're fine. Councillor Duncan then.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to ask about the roof terraces, because as shown on the plans, it looks as if there's sort of like a green area, a decking area and seating. I'm not quite sure. But normally we set in roof gardens away from the edge of the structure for
there is an informative in the addendum reminding applicant of that. And boundary treatment is also conditioned, so we've got it twice. So I think that probably covers it. In the addendum,
right.
Yeah, so that's picked it up.
Good, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other issues with it?
And the only other thing is, on this second floor plan, do people on this roof garden, is there some privacy screening to this person's balcony? Otherwise they're very overlooked.
That's which page?
Page 189.
Oh, right, okay, 189.
And it's this, in the top corner, looking across to this private balcony.
Yeah, no, I get where we are. Double check.
Bear with me a second, I'm going to go to the plan so we know which window we're which unit we're referring to. and then I'm going to propose that we amend either condition 6 or condition 8, but I just want to be certain about which unit we're referring to.
It's whatever unit is in that corner.
It's the second floor plan.
Yes, page 189. That's the plan. That's the plan.
That's it.
It'll be the one next to that, won't it?
Yeah. It's people sitting here.
Yeah.
So there's a direct.
It does look like there is a screen, albeit you can't see it from
It's quite a short distance, really. It's just the.
Will there be a screen?
I believe there is a screen, but we can add it to the condition to avoid the doubt, because the plan isn't very clear.
Okay, thanks.
There might be a slightly tidy way of doing this. So what we've tried to do in the addendum is to add to the landscaping condition. But what perhaps we should be doing is having a standalone condition that relates to these terrace areas, and then it can capture all the points that are being raised this evening. If members are happy to delegate that I do it
I'm
that
happy
way.
with it either way
It
round.
might be a slightly cleaner way of doing things.
Whatever, yeah, I'm happy to delegate that to you, James. I'm sure the committee will be happy with that. It's only the just to make sure that that doesn't end up as a direct overlooking. I'm sure it's not intended to be, but we'll just contain it. We have a proposal, we have a seconder. I don't think there's any further queries on this one. All those in favour, please clearly show. That's approved. Thank you very much. We're then back to more fencing, people. I know it's thrilling. It's a thrilling night. Come on. Fencing is good. Does anybody want a presentation on more fencing? No. You're all right with it? Good. Can I have a proposal and a seconder then, please? Thank you. A second. All those in favour, please clearly show. Thank you very much. Then we get to 401 Uxbridge Road, which is the next interesting one on the list. It's better than fencing. This is you, James, isn't it?
Thank you, Chair. So here we have the application for demolition of the existing single-storey building occupying the site. I'll bring up, trying to think the best plan to start you off with. Not that one. Effectively, have the existing day centre here. This is the parking area allocated to the day centre. This area here is a hard surfaced area which is being used by residents on Swift Close as a parking area. There's nothing marked out on it at present. So what we're looking at here is the demolition of the day centre and the provision of a 3-storey building with 2 GP surgeries at the ground floor level. Just bring up the ground floor plan here. You can see the GP surgeries here. There's 2 separate surgeries that will share some facilities such as reception. Above the surgeries, we're looking at 20 residential units distributed over the 2 upper floors. This is a 100% affordable housing scheme, which is made up entirely of shared ownership units. This is obviously not in line with our general requirement for mix. The justification for this is that it's facilitating the delivery of the GP surgery. So in this instance, we've deemed it to be acceptable that the affordable housing comprises of solely this 100% mix. You can see here just a more detailed layout of the ground floor of the building with the GP surgeries. It's the roof plan. Here we have the elevations. As you can see, it's a 3-storey flat roof building, and just side elevations there. Just cycle back because I think the floor plans, which there's one floor plan here which covers both the first and second floor, as the layouts are identical, which just shows the provisions of flats. There's a mix of units, and there are 2 4-bedroom units included within the development. If I go back to this, as you can see here, the parking area. All in all, 43 car parking spaces will be provided. 7 of these spaces will be allocated for use by patients at the GP surgery. 20 will be allocated to the new residential units. 8 of the spaces will be allocated to residents on Swift Close to compensate for the loss of the area to the side, and a further 8 of the spaces will be used for visitor parking. As the existing D2 use is to be replaced by a new D2 use in the form of the surgery, it's considered that this is policy compliant. It should also be noted that the former use of the site, the services offered being re-provided at more suitable buildings within the surrounding area. The development does not actually provide the optimum housing density levels that would be expected on the site, but this can be explained by the fact that we have the GP surgeries at ground floor. The building itself, I'll just bring up the drawings again. This is considered to be an improvement on the appearance of the existing structure, and although it's 3-storey, if I cycle onto the photographs here, you can see that there's 3-storey and taller flat buildings nearby. So it's a building that would integrate within the surroundings. Sufficient distance is maintained between all neighbouring structures in order to protect amenity, and adequate internal space and external amenity space is provided for future occupants of the development. Sufficient levels of car parking are provided, and as a measure to prevent overspill onto surrounding roads, we will be using the Section 106 agreement to attach, as you're familiar with, clause to prevent future occupants applying for car parking permits. Thank you.
Okay, there are some changes in the addendum again. I don't know that just picking up.
So in addition to what's set out in the addendum sheet, could I just ask delegated authority that head of term number 5, that we apply the normal wording, because we normally have a bit of text that mentions an in-kind scheme and or financial contribution, and it's missing that bit of text. Thus it wouldn't give us the option. So I'd like to have authority to
yeah, I think that's easy. Mandip, you needed...
Can we also delegate to merge conditions 10 and 20, which are duplication and unnecessary?
They are. We also, I think, don't need condition 19 anymore either, because you've beefed up the refuge storage condition in the landscape. The 19 needs to come out.
Perfect.
Review 10 and 20 to merge them, and also 13 was the other one I would have a query on. Is that actually practical?
I have looked into this. I think the wording of the condition doesn't actually reflect what the officers had wanted. I believe that what's happened is the air quality assessment that was lodged with this application overestimated the concerns of the site because it's in an air quality management area. We then imposed this condition because we really want a revised air quality assessment to understand what the actual impact is and whether we need some mitigation.
Right, so is that wording appropriate?
We can amend the wording to be more appropriate, I think.
Thank you. So we'll have that earmarked for amending as well, please. Yeah, I understand the need given air quality management area. I just didn't think that what was being asked for, given it's mainly flats and a small number of parking spaces, that we would ever be able to control it, which then seems not much point in having it there. Okay, I'll open debate on this one. Councillor Edwards, then Councillor Higgins, then Councillor Morgan.
Thank you, Chairman. I will be relatively brief. I think that this is in some ways a compromised development, but the benefits it delivers are very considerable, and therefore the deficiencies in parking, I think, are something that we should be overlooking to secure these preferred new health facilities in the south of the borough and the social housing. And so I would be inclined to move the officer's recommendation, but I see other...
Yeah, okay. They hold that for the moment. If I Councillor Higgins, I'll go down the table and then I'll come back.
I would like to second that. I think it's a wonderful scheme.
Okay.
It's a brilliant good idea.
I've got 2 positives now. I'm doing well. I'm on a roll. Councillor Morgan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I've just got an issue with the parking. It tells us that we've got 43 spaces, but there's nothing that I can see that says any of them are for electric charging points. And also my usual thing is motorcycles.
Yeah, I thought you might ask that one. Double check electric on this one. We had some problems with this overnight. Condition which one?
Condition 10, which is being merged with 20 electric vehicle charging.
We will capture that in the parking management, don't worry.
If you look at condition 10, it does require 4 passive and 4 active.
Yeah, so it's in condition 10, so we'll tidy it up when we put condition 10 and 20 together.
And if we applied our normal ratio, we'd require 2 motorcycle
So
spaces.
we can slip that in as well.
So that could form part of the landscaping condition as we normally do.
Yeah. Right, that's that lot dealt with. Councillor Duncan, I think you're the only other person that's so far indicated.
Thank you, Chair. I very much welcome a new medical facility. I'm sure everybody does, particularly people in the south. But I noticed the enabling development in the form of non-rented affordable housing, which is a shame. What happens if the health centre doesn't go ahead? We've seen this where there have been discussions with local GPs, most notably in my own ward, where a lovely health centre was built as part of a development, much needed, did not go ahead, ended up as a Sainsbury's. So I would hate to see there was an enabling development for a Sainsbury's here. What are we doing to protect that, please?
And can we? Would be my next question, sorry. I'll add to that if I might.
The application's for a GP surgery and a residential scheme, so it can't revert to a Sainsbury's without a completely new planning application. And the answer, unfortunately, to your initial question is a very simple one, that I don't think there's much we can do other than as a local authority do as much as we can to manoeuvre the relatively the various healthcare bodies into a position where they ensure the healthcare facility is delivered on this site.
Yeah, that's really what I'm asking, because it's fine working with the GPs, all the GPs, my own GP, I'm sure all of us, say yes, they would welcome extensions to their surgeries, they've got many more people, etc. But what the body that deals with this is within the NHS. Has there been, what was the consultation with that body revealed, which could give us a bit more certainty? And I understand that this is not a Sainsbury's. I understand we're,
So my understanding is there is a commitment, but there'd be a private property deal to be completed. And the relevance of me saying it's a private property deal is that there's nothing we can do in this planning permission, or as part of this planning report, or as part of the Section 106, to help ensure that separate property deal does or does not happen.
But the private property deal would be with the GPs themselves, would it? Is that what we're saying? Or is it with NHS England?
Well, that's where it starts to get slightly complicated, and I wouldn't want to say anything this evening that's later proven to be incorrect.
Yeah, I think we're probably straying beyond what we can legitimately ask. I think we've got a good scheme. The head of planning's already guided that if it doesn't become GP surgeries, it'll have to come back as a revised scheme.
Yeah.
Then we look at it then.
Yes, my query really was about what happens is this building will come back and we won't have a chance to look at the housing above it because they won't put in for that. So if it did go for something like a Sainsbury's at the end of all this, we would want to look at the whole area because we don't want to be compromising on affordable housing.
Are we tying ourselves, the reverse question is, are we tying ourselves to the housing, assuming the GP development falls apart? I think that's the questions being asked in a different, I'm putting it in a different way, but. So I accept the space for the GPs would have to come back to us, but would we be effectively saying, well, you've given permission for the housing, so you're stuck with the housing, like it or not, you've now got to argue about what goes on the ground floor. But I'm just asking the question.
Yeah. Could we put an informative on?
The only thing that's possibly missing here is an affordable housing review mechanism clause, which you do normally have on affordable housing schemes. But I appreciate that's not actually answering your question. But it
does, because it would mean that if the GP didn't go ahead, which is the enabling development, then the affordable housing review would kick in if we then, for example, are asked to approve a load more housing on the bottom or whatever it might be. Does that make sense?
I'd be uncomfortable proving any application with affordable housing without an affordable housing review mechanism, because that would be inconsistent in how we're dealing with the schemes across the borough.
So if we could put that in,
Well,
would
let's add that
give
in. I think
enough?
that's
Yes,
strong as we
I
can
think
get.
that would give enough.
It gives us some protection.
Yes, and it also gives an indication as well, I think, to anybody receiving this permission. Yeah.
Councillor Oswald?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairman. I didn't really think we'd get bogged down on this one too much because, well, I just thought it was a really good scheme.
I do.
And reading the report, it says on page 98, the applicant has provided the following explanation. It goes on to say that Hillingdon has worked with the NHS to identify the need for a primary care facility. It's in the report.
Right.
So,
I think we'll call the line there. I have a proposal and a seconder, or a tentative proposal and seconder.
I still propose it.
Good. All those in favour, please show. Done. That's approved. We have then got 3 applications relating to the Battle of Britain Museum and Visitor Centre site. 1 presentation is all you're getting. 1 is a visitor centre which already exists, becoming permanent and having some new colours. That's my summary, not the officers'. 1 is a sculpture, and 1 is some flagpoles. So, James, explain that, look, with some brevity. There's a clue to what we're looking for.
Thank you, Chair. So we do indeed here have 3 separate applications for the Battle of Britain bunker site. I'll break them down, although you've largely got the gist of it, I think. Effectively, the first of the applications is to make the existing temporary visitor centre non-temporary, and this would involve, and in order to minimise its impact on the surrounding area and just smarten its up appearance, this will be combined with an external refurb. There's a mural. I don't know if it's actually shown on the plans, but the plan is for a mural to be included, again, which just fit in with the historical context of the site. Here's just a picture of the building as is, and I will zip on to the statue of Sir Keith Park. You can see where it will be sited there, next to the bunker. It's a resin statue. Have an idea of its final appearance there. Again, we feel this to be acceptable. It sits in with the context of the site. It wouldn't have an impact really beyond it, and it's a feature that will enhance the site overall. Finally, we have a series of flag poles, as we can see here, which will be along the side of the site there. These will basically be, as I described, flag poles to display flags. So, I think if there's nothing else that members need to ask me, I will leave it there, but please feel free if you do have any questions. I can sit back through.
I don't think Evie's going to have a lot with this lot, but Councillor Duncan.
Yeah. Can you tell us what the mural is?
Ray, something you probably can't now.
At the moment, there is no definitive answer as to whether there will be a mural or whether the building will just be painted, but there is a condition attached that asks that within 4 months the case officer or the councillor told what it will be, what the finishes will be, and then we will approve them or refuse them if we don't like them.
Sounds very reasonable. Can someone take me forward on this one? Has someone got any further questions?
No, thank you, but I just would like to add that I would be disappointed if we didn't go to put a mural on and we just painted it camouflage green. I think that would be...
It would be nice, but it's conditioned, so we'll...
I needed to make that. But other than that, I'm really pleased that we are investing in our heritage in this way on each of them, and I will move each of the...
Thank you.
Recommendations.
Are you seconding each of them,
I
Kathy?
would second each of them and concur. And it doesn't have to be a mural. It could be lovely red, white and blue circles. And
we're not getting into a debate on murals. Last time we did that, we got into all sorts of trouble.
I did, didn't I? But anyway, at that point, I second all.
Right, we're moved and seconded. So, all those in favour for item 11, please clearly show. That's approved. All those in favour for item 12, please clearly show. That's approved. All those in favour for item 13, please clearly show. And that's approved. Thank you very much indeed. 20 to 7, we're finished. As we said, neat and tidy.